Welcome to Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin. Today I'll be reviewing a Charlie Chaplin classic, The Gold Rush from 1925. So for this week I picked The Gold Rush from 1925 starring Charlie Chaplin. Big reason why: there's a key scene in the film that takes place on New Year's Eve. And when this episode premieres, it will be New Year's Eve. So I thought that'd be kind of fitting. Also, I'm a pretty big fan of Charlie Chaplin movies, and I thought it'd be nice to finally review one on this show. So, let's get into the plot, the acting, directing, cinematography, special effects, and the music. So to start off with the plot, I gave it 2 out of 5. It's pretty non-existent. The setting itself was pretty interesting, seeing the tramp, Charlie Chaplin's infamous character. Seeing him in the Klondike trying to stay warm was pretty hilarious. He's like eating his shoe. He's doing all this crazy stuff in the winter trying to stay warm. It was pretty funny, really funny actually. But that's really all there is to it. It's a lot of slapstick humor, not really much of a story to go along. Not like in his other works like The Great Dictator or City Lights or even Modern Times. This one is kind of just gags all along. It's really more of the spectacle, not necessarily for the story. And hardly any character development. It's really just supposed to be a funny movie. So because of that, I gave it 2 out of 5. There really isn't a plot. In regards to acting, I gave a 2.5 out of 5. It was okay. I really wasn't a fan of the actress who played Georgina, who actually was Charlie Chaplin's wife at the time. I don't know. There's just something about her character I didn't like very much. She was pretty mean to him and all of that, which is kind of understandable. The tramp, he's kind of a tragic figure, if you will. He always has all these terrible things happening to him, but she wasn't that interesting, and I wasn't a fan of her work. And I think Chaplin, he's definitely the highlight of the film. He's always really good. I was very, very impressed with him. And I also really liked the guy who played kind of a bumbling doofus, and that Chaplin ends up making $1 million with in the movie. They had hilarious banter together, especially when he imagines Charlie Chaplin's character as a giant chicken. It's pretty hilarious, and it's funny seeing them kind of fighting and whatnot. So those two were pretty great, but Georgina was not. So because of that, I gave it 2.5 out of 5. Directing wise, so Chaplin was one of those guys who pretty much did everything. He did directing, editing, starred, wrote his movies. He did pretty much everything, and it was his own production company. So directing wise, this one's okay. I'd say it's a 3 out of 5. That's what I put. He's really good at setting up scenes and having characters interact with each other, but I really felt that it lacked in the writing department, especially with the plot. There's really not much of plot. I really feel like all he was doing is, okay, let's do this funny thing, let's do that funny thing. It really was not a story at all. But I love the scenery he did. I love the camera work he did. It was really impressive. Which brings me to the next point, cinematography and special effects. I gave a 4.5 out of 5. It was amazing. Definitely the highlight of the film. Love the snow backdrop and the set pieces. And especially the scenes when they're actually out in the snow. Very impressive stuff. But I also really like the miniature work they did. There's like a little house on a cliffside, and there's like a stop motion of the tramp who comes out of the house and stuff. It's pretty funny. So I was very impressed with that. And also, when that house, the model was tipping and whatnot, it would show inside the house and it was also tipping. Very impressive stuff. I really liked what they did with that. But, everything else about the movie was kind of disappointing. So it's really nice that there is a really good highlight of the movie, which really is the special effects and the cinematography. Alright, now the music. So I think I've said this with every silent film I've watched for this show. I watched this on YouTube. I didn't watch it at a reliable source, if you will. So I don't know for sure if that music I heard was the original. If it was, it worked pretty well. Um, but it's really hard to tell unless you buy like the specific one from Kino Lorber or from Criterion. These silent movies, they've been out of copyright for so long. It's really hard to tell sometimes. So that's why I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. Keep it kind of in the middle of the road. It worked for the movie, but again, I don't know if this was the originally intended music. So all in all, that brings the Letterboxd score to a 3 out of 5, which is what I gave it before. My opinion hasn't changed of it too much. I think I've seen this 2 or 3 times now. It's definitely a lower tier Chaplin film, in my opinion. I don't think it's his best work. I think his other stuff, like City Lights, especially, are way better than this one. But it's still a fun movie to watch. There's a lot of funny gags, and I think you'll appreciate it. But if you're looking for a great story or great acting, you're not going to find it here. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And make sure to subscribe to our Instagram and Facebook to get some behind the scenes info about the week's particular film. And you'll find us at Really Old Movies. New episodes of the show are released Fridays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, unless otherwise noted. And also make sure to follow us on YouTube, where I do a monthly recap of the podcast for the month. And those are released Saturdays, the first Saturday of the month at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. This has been Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Skolin. Take care.